have dressed up a little more.
I work. Sorry.
I've seen you work, yeah.
Can I say a word or two? You care? I just would like to thank the commission as well as the DOT. I've been with Destro for 25 years. I've been out here. This is my second home. But our work, if you ever get a chance to see it, you have to be out before it gets covered up. And we're very honored. This is the first we have received, and I get to take it home tomorrow. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, the next one is a hot-in-place recycling 2-inch resurface overlay on US 6084 in Curry County, Cutler Repaving, and they are here also. You're gonna have to start coming back. There's yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, we should wonder if he's going to do this again next year. You know, this is a high bar, getting all these awards here.
Where all the money went.
Yeah. This is the rural highway resurfacing on US 70, Ruidoso Downs, Lincoln County. Drove that yesterday. Good job. The contractor was Mesa Verde Enterprises out of Alamogordo. That's one reason I went that way. I gave them their award yesterday. You probably want the box. And the last one, rural highway new construction, milepost 145 on US 54. Mountain States Constructors, it was $15 million. And glad to award this to you also. And with that, I want to thank you and hope to see you next year with even more awards, which
We appreciate what you do in recognizing all these projects. And so thank you for taking the time out, not only to recognize them, but to be here today.
Well, good, thank you. Yes, and you know, can we get them a little closer together? I'm getting tired of traveling around.
And a shout out to all the DEs from the commission for a job well done. Take it back to your districts and let them all know we appreciate it. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the District 2 update. Francisco.
Well, Chairman, Commissioners, welcome to Roswell. You know, I'm filled with tremendous joy and extremely proud today. You know, I always wanted to be an engineer and go into this field, but you know, I could have never imagined, you know, hosting a commission award. So being a hometown, this means a lot to me. So number one thing I'm blown away is about the support of our elected officials that showed up today. You know, that really shows how much they care about Southeast New Mexico and infrastructure in this area and the importance of infrastructure. Number two, just like to recognize some staff that are the right-hand personnel to me first, and then I'd like to at least talk a little bit about those awards there. So first of all, can I get Michael Smelker, Alan Briley, our IMS's Eddie Cedillo, Steve Solis, and Greg to stand up. So this are These are definitely, you know, the personnel in District 2 that are making things to work and go. You know, they're assistant district engineers. They oversee the department, the sections that you see where they're construction, design, and maintenance. You know, growing up in a rural town like Roswell, you know, I had the pleasure of working for the city a long time. So when I see this convention center, you know, I'm extremely excited for what's going on for Roswell. You know, I had a lot of projects throughout the town, and then now work with Nmdot. But one thing I realized, you know, growing up in a rural community, you know, it takes a village to really improve our state. We're not a big state. You know, it takes our partnerships with our contracted community. It takes our partnerships with our business community, our consultants, to really get our goals here for Southeast New Mexico. You know, overall, my goal, I'm a pavement guy. As you can see, I love putting pavement down. And, you know, that's always one of my main goals. I want to improve the system here in Southeast New Mexico. And that can't be done without our contracting community, but, you know, our staff. You know, I tell our construction staff every day, you know, New Mexico, we're getting more funding, but we're still not there. So we need these projects to be built by the specifications and built right. So I just want to, you know, say congratulations to my construction staff, or the construction staff that was in charge of those 4 projects. So can I please have the Roswell Project Office stand up? Clovis Project Office. Chula Rosa. Who's the final office? Oh, yeah, Carrizozo. I can't even forget Carrizozo. I know everyone wasn't able to make it today.
I think because of that accident on the gate.
Okay. Yeah. You know, the Carrizozo project, the 2111, if you haven't had a chance to drive that, you know, if you have, please, that's one of the smoothest roads, you know, you can see here in Southeast New Mexico. Mountain States did a great job, and our staff did an excellent job managing that, getting that one constructed under budget and within time. So you know, that's one of our proud projects this last year. So like I said, I just want to thank all the construction for what they do. You know, last night I had the pleasure of, you know, speaking with Chairman Adams, and we talked a little bit about vision. You know, we have a vision for this state, where we want this state to go, and we're lucky that we're in this position to lead and try to achieve these visions. But it doesn't happen without our Nmdot employees. So I just want to say thank you. And maintenance, please stand up. All our maintenance staff. That's it. Our Nmdots are the backbone of Nmdot. So, you know, every time we can acknowledge them and say thank you, you know, they're doing what we need to do to fulfill our vision for the state of New Mexico. So we have a little short presentation about District 2. We recently presented, you know, a couple months ago. So this is kind of, you know, going from there and kind of just giving an update with the major projects that are going on in Southeast New Mexico.
I want to, on behalf of the commission, we want to thank all of you for the job that you do. I spent 19 years in construction, so I know what it is, and I appreciate the work you do, because you got to be on it. And then I spend the other half as an AMS. I know I worked with all your AMSs here. I worked with a lot of these employees. In fact, yesterday on my way in, I stopped off at the Vaughn Patrol, and there was some other guys there, remember? And I was able to talk to him, and it was like being home again. I walked in and, hey, you know, because like I always said, we're a big family here. And I walked in and I felt that I hadn't missed a step. I walked in there and they hadn't forgotten, and we'll never forget you too. As long as we're here, we'll always take care of you, and we appreciate what you do. With that, Francisco, it's all yours.
Chairman Adams, commissioners, welcome back. You know, it wasn't too long ago the District 2 was hosting in Hobbs, and now we are here in the great city of Roswell. Proud to be hosting it here in my hometown. It's an exciting time to be working for Nmdot. With the enhanced funding from the state and our federal partners, we really got some great infrastructure projects coming up. You know, New Mexico is truly the land of enchantment with our rich history, diverse culture, and various landscapes. District 2 is a microcosm of those values, and I would really like to discuss what's going on here at District 2, tell a little bit about the people that work here, and especially these exciting projects that are going to be beneficial to not only southeastern New Mexico, but throughout the state. I am proud to oversee and lead District 2 in operations throughout southeast New Mexico. District 2 represents 10 counties, 137 communities. We maintain 7,750 lane miles. We do this with a staff of 329 employees, 185 in our maintenance section, 76 in construction, 47 in business support, and 21 within our engineering section. Southeast New Mexico's economy is heavily tied to the potash mining, farming, ranching, petroleum, and natural gas extraction. These industries require truck freight to haul industry goods to sites and transport products out. The increased need for truck freight transport throughout southeast New Mexico in recent years has created growing concerns around maintenance of the road infrastructure and public safety issues associated with heavy commercial trucks. It is Nmdot's duty and obligation to improve the road conditions throughout southeast New Mexico, not only for the industries that are bringing economic growth to New Mexico, but the everyday men and women that are traveling these roads, getting to work, to and from, back to their homes in a safe manner. We have some exciting projects that are truly transforming southeast New Mexico, making it a safer way to bring freight in and making sure the working people get home safe at night. One of our major current infrastructure improvements is the US 285 corridor milepost 0 to 22. This is a $150 million investment. I really like to use the word investment because we're not only investing in rebuilding that road, we're reinvesting in the communities that go through there, we're investing in the economics of the area, and we're investing in the people that have to travel that road on a daily basis. The US 285 corridor is a full reconstruction, has multiple bridge replacements. As you can see from the pictures, we're widening the highway, adding passing lanes, making it safe, new intersections, turn lanes for all the turnouts. Of course, the bridges are an important aspect of that corridor. They'll all be replaced and hopefully have a life cycle for the next 50 to 70 years. The US 285 corridor was the #1 priority for District 2. As you can see, we're fully under construction in that corridor. So our next priority that has a major impact on southeast New Mexico is New Mexico 31, 128. New Mexico 138 is known as the Potash Mines Road, and then New Mexico 28 is known as the Jaw Highway. These are two critical highways that support various industries in that area. New Mexico Department of Transportation's plan to address those two corridors is to construct both corridors through a design-build project. Currently, we have completed a study to address all the deficiencies. Right now, if we were to do all of New Mexico 31 and all of New Mexico 128, the total project cost would be $433 million. Right now, we have secured funding for $80 million. As we work with our legislative partners, we are hoping to get additional funding to, number one, address the most high priority sections within the New Mexico 31, 128 corridor. As you can see right now, our highest priorities would be the first 8 miles on 31. That is approximately $80 million. Right now, that section is fully funded. We have added alternatives within our design build project that will address the next highest priorities within that corridor, which would be the City of Jail, the section from the intersection of 128, 31 to the WIP site, safety improvements on the major intersections on 128, and a section on New Mexico 31 where we have our mosaic and our potash mine industry. The design build project schedule is shown in this slide. Right now, we have just completed the shortlist announcement. We're continuing to work on eventually selecting a design build contractor and designer. Our goal right now is to have the execution of the design build agreement in place in March of 2023 and be in construction the summer of 2023. One other project I'd like to highlight in the area down there is control number 210-4490. This is US 285 New Mexico 31 intersection improvement project. This intersection is one of the most congested intersections within southeast New Mexico. We're planning on realigning it, moving it about 1,500 feet to the south, making it a true 90. That way, all vehicles will have great sight lines to see oncoming traffic. We're bringing in a traffic signal at that location, bringing in additional turn lanes, working with the railroad to make sure we put in all the safety enhancements to protect not only the train system, but the traveling public on US 285. This project is going to tie in really nicely with our design build project on New Mexico 31. I'd also like to highlight two urban projects that are currently going on. Downtown Levington, a total investment of $23 million. We are reconstructing downtown, bringing in a new drainage system, reconstructing the pavement. It was truly a partnership with the city of Levington, working with their city council, the mayor, all the stakeholders in that area to come up with a design that would meet the characteristics and the history of that community. Also shown is groundbreaking for Carrizozo reconstruction, also an urban project reconstructing downtown, bringing in drainage improvements, reconstructing the roadway. It was great working with that community as they have a truly interesting history. We work with them to really bring those historical characteristics within the design, and ultimately this will be shown during our construction and ultimately shown when this project is complete. District 2 represents all of southeastern New Mexico. Over the last 5 years, we have addressed all parts of the district, and as you can see on this map that is shown, all the projects that are being completed within the last 5 years and all our future projects for the next 5 years. District 2 is addressing all areas throughout southeast New Mexico. We are proud to serve all communities and try to bring projects that not only improve the payment condition, but enhances safety throughout all these communities. Hosting here in Roswell, New Mexico, one of the projects that this area is definitely interested is the development of the US 380 passing lane and safety improvement projects. Being from this area, every day, whether I go to lunch, dinner, it always seems like somebody comes up to me and says, when are you gonna put them passing lanes on 380? And when I'm telling them we're working on it, I have the support of our secretary, our legislative partners that are working on bringing District 2 funding to get this project to fruition. We recently finished a study on that corridor. Total project costs, if we were to reconstruct all of 380, put passing lanes throughout that corridor, we're looking at $200 million. Our plan is to design the whole corridor in 4 phases. The first priority phase will cost approximately $40 million. Our goal is to have this in construction within the next year or two. Hopefully you'll be seeing that, and I can tell the soccer moms, basketball dads, this is coming. Like I said, this corridor is traveled by many to sporting events throughout southeast New Mexico. It's a heavily traveled tourist route from Texas trying to get to Ruidoso. You know, my family travels it every day. You know, every time they go on there, I do have safety concerns, just like many people in Roswell, many people in this community. We're working hard to bring this project to southeast New Mexico, and looking forward to the future when this finally gets built and getting safety improvements in place. You cannot talk about New Mexico Department of Transportation without discussing the importance of maintenance. District 2 maintenance operations encompasses various activities. One of our most important activities, especially during our winter season, is snow removal. This year we were hit with a few storms. Our crews did a tremendous job on clearing the roads, making sure the traveling public was safe during these activities. As you can see in this picture, our crews work 24 hours during these snow events to make sure people are able to travel on our highways and make it home safe each and every day. One word that always comes to mind is adaptation. They really never know what's going to happen that day. As you can see here, we had some flooding events early in the year. Our crews were out there assisting not only with the traffic control, assisting our emergency responders, eventually moving the debris and rebuilding that road to make sure that our highways are put back in operation. The small stuff truly makes the difference on what you see on the highway and how it affects safety on all these corridors throughout southeast New Mexico. The replacement of signs, when guardrail gets hit and gets replaced, it really impacts safety. Our pavement preservation program, extending the life of these pavements, all these routine activities are really beneficial to our system and enhance operations throughout District 2. This is the favorite part of my presentation, congratulating our supervisor, crew, and employee of the year. District 2 Supervisor of the Year, Mark Madrid. He is the Vaughn Patrol Supervisor. There's not enough words to talk about Mark. Mark has had a distinguished career here at District 2 with over 20 years of experience. He started as a basic and worked his way up through an operational, advanced, and finally supervisor. You can talk to anybody within District 2, highly respected with his peers, highly organized within his patrol. Each and every year, it seems like Vaughn is always nominated for Best Patrol. When I drive through there, I always see a crew out doing something. They're extremely efficient, and that says a lot about Mark Madrid's leadership.
Well, I consider myself to be part of the team. I'm just kind of like in the middleman. I take care of my guys. Everybody in the offices at the district help me do my job over there. I take care of my guys, so I'm like the middleman. I actually think that I became Supervisor of the Year because of my team, which is the whole district as a whole, all the way from my basic operator to the district engineer. It's all a big team.
In addition to that, Mark Madrid was named Employer of the Year for all of Nmdot. So congratulations, Mark. I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you work here at District 2. Keep up the good work. Keep up what you're doing. Crew of the Year, Capitan Patrol. Although Capitan Patrol is one of our smaller patrols, they're definitely one of the most efficient. With only 6 crew members, they have to be. They not only serve the Capitan area, but the Ruidoso area, which is one of the busiest areas within District 2. Ruidoso, during the weekends, sometimes triples in size. They're always there on call-outs when accidents happen. During this year's snow events within Ruidoso, that crew was consistently there at 4 a.m., making sure that mountain was open. I can't say enough of that. You know, I drive that mountain on an occasional basis in the summer, and I get scared driving that. I can't imagine doing a snowplow. And these guys do it with no hesitation. They know the importance of going up that mountain and serving that community.
Apparently we've done some stuff that impressed some people, and we got voted in. And like I said, we've done quite a bit of work in this area. And so maybe that was one of the things I was looked at and maybe played a factor or a role in us getting voted.
Capitan Patrol never lacks for work and being busy. During this past summer, there was a lot of flooding events. They were the first ones out there making sure those roads were taken care of, making sure the traveling public did not get hurt. I can't say enough about Capitan Patrol. Just want to say congratulations for being Crew of the Year. District 2 Employee of the Year, Jake Hernandez, works in our construction section out of the Hobbs project office. Jake is definitely a go-to guy. Anytime we're having issues with asphalt, he's the man to troubleshoot that problem. You know, he's not only respected within the Hobbs project office, but throughout District 2. Highly dependable. Anytime somebody's looking for assistance, one of the first persons I think of is Jake. I see a bright future for him. I really see him being a project manager one day and taking on some of the biggest projects District 2 will have in the future.
I just help out a lot. I help other offices if there's some tough questions that they're struggling with, or some paperwork they're struggling with, they're not sure how to complete it. I can help them complete it and get some complicated things done, or help them. Maybe somebody quit and then they have all this paperwork that they're struggling with it. They're short-handed. I just help out with that.
Congratulations, Jake. Thank you for doing what you do. If I need to call somebody on asphalt, I'm definitely calling you. I would just like to thank District 2 staff. You are the backbone of Nmdot and District 2. What we do on a daily basis out on the highway, we cannot do without you. So I just want to acknowledge you and just say thank you. Sadly, we lost a valuable DOT family member in December. Medy Runyon was killed in a work zone crash. She was extremely close with the crew. They shared some wonderful, kind words about her.
She never met a stranger. You know, anybody that would come and talk to her. We just had the best patrol not too long ago, and people from all kinds of districts, District 1, District 3, District 5, would come, and she was the one that would stay there, give them the tour, give them, you know, and I've had nothing but good things about her, you know, say from other districts.
A sweetheart, hard worker, dedicated, family person, always talking about her family.
Oh, she was a joker. She was always happy, always happy about everything, willing to do everything. And she's always in a good mood. Always in a good mood.
I laughing at her in the Spanish way she's speaking. She laughing on my English because they ain't very well either, though.
She liked to make fun of my team, the Cowboys, you know, so yeah, she'd throw some cheap shots and, you know, we was always losing, so she was always on the winning end, wanting to bet against the Cowboys, so it was nice, you know, but a sweetheart.
I always used to give him a bad time. If I'm going to Artesia, I gotta go by the house and get my cowboy hat if we're gonna go see Medy. She's just a good lady.
Most of the time she was in the office doing office work, but every chance she got, she would go out there and help the guys out. More than willing to go out there.
When we're going to snow removal or something, she selected one with me in the truck when I first started. But she's not going to be just in the passenger side. When we stop on it, she was willing to check if he saw it in the sales spreader, or she was help me load it with a saw. I mean, she was help like it all us. Like employees, like a co-workers.
But even here at the patrol yard, she's the one that kept the patrol yard in check. Yeah.
She's in the yard. She had coffee ready for us. She don't have any distinguish to nobody when it comes into food. She was taking one best work that we've been having. And the females, we got more, but she was the best on it. I don't see her like a co-worker. I almost see her like a sister.
She also loved her crew, kind of like her kids. So she made sure that she took care of them too, because of course, being the only lady, she's kind of like the mom of the patrol, you know. So she actually took care of her co-workers. Just a sweetheart.
We'd always talking. She'd always be joking around, man. Always talking about her horses and stuff like that. She was a good lady, like I said. You know, I mean, she's in a good place now, though. So I say.
I find myself, you know, looking for her now, you know, trying to get some stuff. You know, she's well missed.
I was sitting on the tailgate of that pickup in front of her, so I'll always be indebted. She probably saved my life. Yeah, I know she did.
Medy Runyon was with District 2 for close to 22 years. I always enjoyed visiting the Artesia Patrol because I knew as soon as I opened the door, Medy was going to be there with a smile and a positive attitude. She was a huge part of District 2 and all of Nmdot. I never realized what impact she had across the state. I received numerous calls from people throughout Nmdot with wonderful experiences and memories they had of Medy, how every time they visit District 2 and had to do jobs or tasks within the Artesia Patrol, she was the first to greet them, she was the first to help them, and was always there for whatever they needed. We were blessed to know you, Medy, and you will be missed.
We forget a lot of times, we're out there, our employees are out there in harm's way, doing the right thing, protecting the people that drive up and down these roads, and Medy never hesitated to understand the importance of her role, and she will be missed. And Chairman, I know you have worked with DOT, our Artesia Patrol is here, it's been very hard on all of us, as you talked about the family, some of the gentlemen there showing up to work every day, 22 years for that person. So it's been very tough on District 2 and very tough on our Artesia Patrol. But, we honor Medy, and we're going to keep moving on and doing what Nmdot does. And so, we honor her, and like I said, we'll miss her.
I just want to ask
Yeah, they are here, and, you know, Medy would be extremely proud of them for, especially the Capitan crew and Mark for, you know, being crew and employee of the year. And as you touched on, Chairman, you know, Mark's here to accept the award, but his crew is here. And that shows, you know, the support they have for him. He talked about team, and he's really truly created that team. And I love to see that support in our district, and their support here, you know, means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to Mark. So. Thank you. Mark and the crew, and it would be great if we could do the pictures, because I really enjoy that part of this presentation, or at least our commission meetings. You know, our employees, they deserve to be honored, and Mark, Capitan crew, and Jake are here today. So.
About 3-4 years ago, I don't know, Mark was in Vegas for some reason, and I was walking down the street, and he goes, "Órale, Walter." And we stayed and we had a talk, so Mark, it's good to see you here.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Yeah, you want to do pictures? We'll take a second, then we'll move on. On to the number 11, Secretary Report, Secretary Sandoval.
And just a couple things I wanted to mention. Our last meeting was in January. The legislative session was just about to start. And so I just want to share what happened at the legislative session, how that impacts the department. So a couple things. When I first started, we had a legislative agenda of about 15 bills that we wanted to get passed over the 4 years of this administration. Now there's been 4 legislative sessions, and I'm happy to report that the last of those 15 bills was finally passed this last legislative session. And contract management general contractor, or contract general construction. And it is a new procurement option for the state. It is something that, you know, that old term, third time's a charm, because we tried this in 2020. We got it all the way through the House. It died in Senate Judiciary. We switched up our strategy a little bit last year. Started on the Senate side, but it still was not heard in Senate Judiciary, and so we switched up our strategy again, and we're happy to say that it did get past Senate Judiciary and ultimately through the House and was signed by the governor in March. And so that was the last of our legislative bills that we wanted to get passed as an administration for the department. So we're happy about that. And what it really does, and what we've been trying to do as a department, is give people options. And I think all of you are very familiar with the procurement option is used the most, and that is design, bid, and then build. That's a low bid process. Process has been used for years. We did have a design build process that's a little bit different than that, but there was a threshold of a project had to be 50 million or above. And so it was only being used for the larger projects. And then you have now this third procurement option, which is CMGC, we call it, in which case you kind of marry the designer and the construction contractor together from the beginning and move forward. In addition to that, we also impacted the design build process by eliminating that $50 million threshold. And so what this does for our design regions and for our district engineer is they can truly look at a project that they know is coming up and choose from these 3 procurement options, the regular design bid build, the design build, and CMGC, and figure out which is the best procurement option for that particular project. And that's only gonna help us be more efficient. That's only gonna help us with the influx of state and federal money that are coming in, is to provide our folks with as many options as possible. And so we're very happy about that. We're very happy that we were able to complete our legislative agenda over these last 4 years, and it was due to our great team that we have both internally at the department, and we had a lot of help from our consultants lobbying and doing these type of things for that bill. So happy to say that that finally passed. Took us 3 years, but we got it done. And getting any procurement bill through the legislative session is something that is incredibly difficult. So that was kind of the legislation piece, and I'll talk a little bit about our budget. Our budget this year is going to be somewhere in the area of $1.5 billion. That is one of the highest budgets we've ever had. I believe it is the highest budget we've ever had here at the department. 1.1 billion of that is our regular revenue, gas tax, weight distance tax, those type of things. And then we did receive just over $370 million of general fund money. So we're very happy about that. One thing that I want to say is that money is extremely flexible. They've provided us, I think, with the autonomy to use that money. They've given us a list of projects and suggestions to use that on, but I think that's a tremendous show of support for the department for them to give us that much money without it being earmarked in dollars for specific needs or projects. And so just to kind of give you an idea of what that some of the money can be used for, there was $5 million put in there for airports. There was $20 million, up to $20 million in there for cost overruns. As you know, inflation has really hit the country hard, has really hit the industry hard, and therefore has hit the department hard. A lot of our projects are coming in anywhere from 20% to 50% over what we originally thought 2 or 3 years ago because of the cost of materials. But right now, the biggest thing hitting our contractors is the gas price. And we had a meeting last week about that. A lot of these contracts with all this money were bid at gas prices at the time. And even though gas prices fluctuate 10, 20 cents on any given day or week, they're fluctuating between what was bid and now anywhere from $1 to $2 more a gallon. And so when you have a industry that's reliant on equipment and heavy equipment and diesel fuel, that could be 20, 30, 40% of the cost of their project. And when that's impacted the way that has been, they're struggling right now to figure out how to make up that difference. So we're working on some solutions with those. The legislature did provide us with up to $20 million for cost overruns. That's not going to get us where we need to go. It's a good start. But that wasn't even particularly for gas, because that was before the gas prices went up. That was more for materials and steel and other things like that. So we're dealing with that issue. There is discretion on maintenance money. So of that $370 million, we could, if we wanted to, use all of that on maintenance. We're looking at somewhere between $60 and $90 million for maintenance. So that's anywhere from $10 to $15 million per district for maintenance. Part of that would be included for price agreement program. We know that's a big part of our maintenance and keeping up our roads, and so we'll figure out exactly how much of that to put into price agreements, but the district will have discretion on how to use that $10 to $15 million, and they've already submitted a list of projects in their area to try and utilize that money. The rest of the money will be distributed to major investment projects. And there were about 10 to 12 projects identified in House Bill 2. Of course, we can decide how much money to put where. There was at least one project in every district, but there are a lot of projects out there, and this money won't fill all of those, but it'll at least hopefully address most of them and get them to whatever that next phase is, whether it's design, phase 1 of 4 of US 380, whatever that is. We're going to look and see, and within 30 days, we'll have a plan of where all this money will be put towards. We had a $25 million that was provided to us that we're still going to figure out exactly how to do this to help with supply chain issues, mainly on I-40 and I-10. So we're going to be working with McKinley County, Cibola County, and of course Doña Ana County and down south on how to address some of the supply chain issues that we're having. In a lot of cases, we may have projects that are ready to go, but they're waiting on material, steel, whatever it is. And so it can be, and it is already delaying some of our projects because not that they're not ready, just because they can't get the supplies they need. A lot of them are still on ships out in Long Beach in California, and it's certainly impacting the industry. And then we did get some specific money up to $10 million for bridges. A lot of that is, I think, meant for some of our local bridges. If you saw the Larry Barker story on bridges recently in the last couple weeks, he focused really on some of the local McKinley County bridges. So we met with them last week and are going to provide them with some money to address some of those really hard bridges that carry school buses and emergency vehicles, and the bridges not being up to speed, they're having to go around, and that could cost somebody their life if emergency vehicle can't get where it needs to go. So we're going to use that $10 million, some for local, maybe some for DOT, but that was a good start of state money to help with some of the bridge issues that we're having. So we're very happy with that additional $370+ million. We have a general plan, but we're going to try and finalize that, like I said, in the next 30 days. And of course, as it goes out to the districts in the form of maintenance, we'll have some equity in that so that each district gets that same amount, since we all know they have some pretty big maintenance needs. Cindy's going to go up after me. I'm sure she can update you on the bill, the bipartisan infrastructure law. But I can tell you that this year, through formula funding, it's going to amount to about $84 million additional dollars to the department. It is broken down into several different programs and several new programs that we still don't have information on. The president just signed the budget, and so that money should be flowing in now, but there's still some programs out there that haven't been identified as to how we can use that money. For example, the department's going to get $13 million for a carbon reduction program. We don't exactly know what that means or how you can utilize that. for sure, but I think FHWA is working on those guidelines, so we know exactly as we continue to get this carbon reduction money, how the department can utilize that in a way that's best for the state. But the formula funding results in about 84 million, and that goes up about 10 or 15 million every year throughout the life of bill, which is 5 years. So by the time we're in the 5th year of bill, it'll be somewhere around 120 to 130 million dollars more per year that the department will be receiving. But just to kind of give you an idea, FHWA did release the bridge money, which resulted in New Mexico getting $45 million additional federal money for bridges this year, and that'll continue to happen over the next 4 years as well. Our bridge folks have put together a plan for that. Some of that will be used in some major projects. Some of that, up 15%, has to be used at the local level. But that'll be an area that I think will be really helpful for some of the bridge deficiencies that we have. We generally do pretty well, but a lot of these smaller areas don't get the bridge support that they need. And that's a new money that's also coming into the department that doesn't include the 84 million I mentioned. And then we just also got an announcement about I think it was 5.38 million for electric vehicle charging station. That money has already been released as well and identified. And so Jerry Valdez, who's been putting together our electric vehicle charging plan, you have to submit a plan before we can actually start spending this money, but we do have pretty close to a statewide implementation plan for how we're going to distribute and implement and install electric vehicle charging stations so that we have a good network here in New Mexico that people can get from the south part to the north part and have a decent amount of opportunities to be able to charge their vehicle so they don't have so many limits on their electric vehicle. Yeah, good.
Free?
The charging will not be free. It's like getting gas, right? You go and get gas and you pay. You'll go charge your vehicle and you'll pay a fee, usually with a credit card or through an app, and it'll be fee-based. We really don't want to. We're not making any money off it. I can tell you that. It's obviously to pay the electricity company and those type of things that are recharging the vehicle. We're working with electric companies. The number one thing you need for a charging station is electricity, and electricity is not just out everywhere that we need it. And so to get electricity to some of these locations is expensive. But certainly this is some of the money that, uses for the money that we can use that we're receiving. Over the course of the bill, it's going to be somewhere around $38 million in total. We got $5 million this year, but we're looking forward to, over the course of the bill, about $38 million for charging stations. The last thing I wanted to mention, Mr. Chairman, is I'll be honest with you, and I'm going on 27 and a half years now with state government. I'd never thought I'd see this happen before, but I think it shows tremendous trust from the governor. But we have been exempt from the state personnel office for doing transactions. So as you know, anytime we need to reclassify a position or get a promotion or in-band pay, all of these things create a position. Usually the process is we go through SPO, then it goes to DFA, then it comes to us, and that can take some time. And with all this money coming in, both at the state and the federal level, we needed to move quicker. We need to be able to do transactions and make sure not only that we're filling vacancies, but that we have people in the right places, in the right positions. And going through the reclassification process and all that can be timely, and the governor has granted us an exemption from SPO, so we're doing all of that internally. Our HR people, both at the main office and at the district office, have been great. We still have to follow and do all the same paperwork. We still have to have all the same justifications. We still have to do all of those same things. But ultimately, I have put together a HR committee, which includes myself and Deputy Secretary Reese and some others. We're the ones that are approving it, going one by one to make sure that all the paperwork and everything is in place. But I think since this started the end of January, in the last couple months, we've done, I think, just over 300 to 400 transactions, which is really, really good as far as moving things along. And a lot of those has resulted in some in-band adjustments for some of our maintenance workers and other folks to make sure that there's some equity and some ladders and some things that are going to make sense for them as we move into this era of having just more money than we've ever had. and we need to make sure we have a good structure and a good foundation to hold and retain employees. And when someone does get promoted or something happens, that there's quick action to reward them and move them into the right position and start to get them the training that they need. So we appreciate that exemption. I don't think any other state agency that I've been around, you've been around 42 years, Commissioner, I never heard of it, but I'm certainly happy that the governor was able to do that for us, and I think it's going to make a big difference and position us well to utilize this money and be successful.
Secretary, where it's red tape after red tape after red tape, and it's wait. So this is great news for us.
Absolutely. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I know we have a long agenda, but unless you need me to address something specific, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, on the electric charging stations, it seems to me that we ought to recover some of the cost rather than not on those stations, due to the fact that electric cars are not paying any highway tax because they're not using fuel. At some point, that's going to become a problem. And there are a number of them on the roads. I have an electric vehicle that we use around town quite a bit. But I think it's important to consider that, you know, it's not cheap to put those in. It takes a lot of horsepower to run those things. And I really do think that we ought to make sure that we recover the costs of doing that. And at some point, we've got to start a different process of figuring out how to tax electric vehicles, because it's going to be a problem as time moves on. And, you know, in the next decade, we're going to see a huge change in that. It's important to realize it's just like, you know, my little car, I just use a 110 to charge it, and it takes 27 hours to put 100 miles worth of electricity in it. But it's 10 amps. It equals to the an amount of electricity that's more than it takes to run my entire home. So if tomorrow everybody built or bought an electric car in Farmington, we would have to increase our electric production by 75%. Every single transformer in our system would have to be replaced, and probably half of the transmission lines to make that occur. So there's going to be a lot of costs involved with this transition. At some point, we need to figure out a way to start covering the cost that is going to be to the public for providing all of this stuff.
And Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, you're absolutely right, and that's why we're working with some of the energy companies, because, you know, there's always a need somewhere, right? If you don't need the gas, then you need the electricity. And certainly as more and more people come on and start purchasing electric vehicles, that's going to impact the amount of electricity that we use. And already with rolling blackouts and other stuff that are happening, certainly that can become an issue. So one of our biggest stakeholders and partners is the electric companies, trying to figure out with them where to put these, where the capacity is, and how to deal with those. There's different levels of chargers. The one you have that takes a while to charge, and there's level 3 chargers that you charge your car in 15 to 30 minutes that you can, these faster ones, and those need a lot of capacity to be able to do that, especially if you have 2 or 3 or 4 in a particular in just one location. As far as the DOT recovering their costs, there has been a bill the last few years about increasing the registration fee for an electric vehicle. You're obviously not paying the 17 cents a gallon gas tax. You're not paying federal gas tax, of course. And then you're also, in a lot of cases, don't have a lot of maintenance on an electric vehicle. You're not changing your oil and doing those type of things. The problem with the bill that's happening is they're charging more for registration, but they're also giving a tax credit. And anytime you get a tax credit, it goes to different committees, and there's other discussions about that. I'd love to see a bill, to be honest with you, that's strictly a registration increase. We have done some numbers and think the average person saves about $120 a year in gas tax if they drive state gas tax if they drive an electric vehicle. So you just charge them $120 of registration fee, and the department is recouping the cost that they would normally get, still a user fee for gas tax. Some of the advocates are saying it's more around 40 or 50, but we think our number is pretty solid, and I'd love to see that happen without the tax credit to kind of complicate things, but that's just my opinion.
Any other questions or comments? I just want to say on behalf of the commission secretary that we appreciate all the effort. And when you know it, we know it takes a lot of effort during the legislative session. We want to thank your staff too, because I know they put in a lot of hours. But I think we both came in around the same time, and everybody else came on right after that. And I just want to let everybody here know that along with our employees, you need a great leader. And Secretary Sandoval is a great leader, and he's done great things. When we came in, we talked about doing stuff with per diem, and the per diem now went up to $151. We talked about the clothing allowance. We've talked about the bringing in everybody at midpoint, and there's been a lot of improvements, and that's not even counting all the stuff that you've done, you know, getting money for this, getting money for that, and being able to disperse it. The thing is that hits home with me is that you've done a lot for employees. You've looked at their needs, you've looked at what they need, and you said, let's give it to them. And so I think we're at a place now that we've never been. And we have money, but it takes leadership. And so we want to thank you for your leadership, and we look forward to some continued leadership. And I hope that everybody realizes the great job he does. I hear it in the districts. I hear it in, and when you let me just put it this way: when I was an employee, we didn't care who the secretary was. We didn't care who the deputy secretary was. We didn't care any of that because we never saw them. We never saw them. We never talked to them. So to us, it was business as usual. And I hear his name up in the districts, which means you deserve a lot of credit because you've been out there, you've gone and spoken with them, and they know they can depend on you and trust you. And that's a hard thing to get from them. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And one thing I did want to mention on the employee side of it is the good thing for employees is everyone will be getting a raise, which doesn't always happen during the legislative session. But the first pay period in April is actually everyone will get a 3% raise. And then starting in July, you'll get at least a 4% raise, which makes up to 7%. But there are people, especially at the lower pay bands, there's a formula and it's kind of complicated, I won't go through it, but they're gonna get at least 4% in July. So some people could get 10, 15, even 20% based on the calculation depending on where you are. So this is most likely the biggest raise that I've seen since I've been here for some people when you start adding in all those factors that they have, which is good news with inflation and everything else going on. What you were making 6 months ago isn't the same as what you're making now because everything has just gotten so much more expensive across the board for everything. And I appreciate your compliments. I will tell you I have a great legislative team. I have a very experienced legislative team. I don't think people realize the amount of effort that it takes to get not only a piece of legislation through, but on the budget. All the negotiations that happen, the last minute discussions that happen to get us up to this $370 million. It's not an easy thing to do, and it takes a lot of time at all hours of the night. And so I have a great team, and I have an experienced team, and I see them continuing to do a good job. So thank you for your support as well.
You also have to have a great rapport with that legislature.
That's right.
And all those legislators, whether you guys agree or don't agree, they respect you and you're able to get things done. So again, on behalf of the commission, we appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
With that, we're going to move on to our partner, Cindy. Thank you for attending today and being here. And
I love being here first time in Roswell, so thank you all for your hospitality. It's actually been nice, and got some ideas to bring my family. So, great. Good morning, Commissioners,
Good morning.
Chairman. Hello.
Welcome.
Everybody. Thank you, Mayor. Hello. So the last few times I've been here, I talked about, we're getting the money, but it's flowing very slowly, and we're getting it piecemealed, but the good news is we finally got our full year apportionment, and it's something we've been waiting on because in getting the pots of money slowly, we haven't been able to really open up the program like the new infrastructure bill is wanting us to do. So on March 15th, the President signed the Consolidated Appropriations Act, and that gave us the full year funding that we've been looking for. What that means is 4 pots of money are going to be released. And of course, it's going to take a little bit of time because we have to do the funding notices. I know, Secretary, you know that pretty well. But one of those pots is the Carbon Reduction Program, which you mentioned. That's $7.6 million, and then there's the Protect Formula Program funding. That's $13.4 million. And although now that we're able to release those funds, we need to develop the guidance. So that'll be coming over the next, hopefully the next 60 days. So also with that, we get the additional appropriated funding, meaning the rest of our $84 million, as the Secretary shared. And, but there's something new this year that we haven't seen in a long time, and those are earmarks. So my understanding is there were 11 earmarks proposed. I don't know if they were finalized. I haven't finished reading the whole bill, all 2,700 pages. But I understand, and if we're talking about regionally here, give me a minute to find them, is that downtown Clovis reconstruction project, $3.5 million. And that was proposed by Senators Heinrich and Lujan. I'll keep it regional here, but there was 11 total. The other one that was of interest that we shared was New Mexico 31 and 128 preliminary engineering. So that was $1.5 million, also from Senator Heinrich and Lujan. So that's good news for the area, and once I see the final list, I don't know if you've seen it, Secretary, we'll be sure to share that with everybody. So, and I think those are the key items. Oh, and as a result of having our full pot of money for the year, is yesterday there was a notice of funding opportunity. I know, Mayor, you mentioned about opportunities available. So as of yesterday, what is called the 3 programs are being released at the same time. It's the MEGA, and those are for larger projects. Infra, which are the funding, a continuation of the program that we're used to. But one that may be of interest to others is $300 million for rural. And that's going to be a huge opportunity for many people. So if you're interested, I can share more of that information with you. And that can be found at www.transportation.gov/grants. So folks can apply.
In your office that they could contact as far as information or anything?
They can contact me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of those rural areas would really love to apply for this money.
Absolutely, and the Secretary talked about McKinley County. I've been speaking with them quite often, and they have a lot of interest in repairing their bridges, especially on the tribal lands. So if there is an interest, the deadline to apply for those grants is May 23rd. So it doesn't give a lot of time, but definitely feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to point you in the right direction. Great, all right.
I just want to thank you again for your partnership with us, and we love working with you, with your department. And I just want to tell you that when that money does roll in, the one you were talking about, we can coordinate with all the district engineers, and we can send all the valley dumps and 10 yarders we have, and we'll haul it back here.
Oh.
So let us know when it comes in.
All right.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you
And
so
you have
much.
a good rest of the week.
I love it. Thank you. Thanks.
With that, we're going to go on to Mark Lovato, number 12A.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Mark, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Secretary, first of all, thank you for your approval of the resolution for the refunding. And going on to page 44. During the month of February, NMFA received in debt service totaling $31 million. That's for January and February. So we are currently holding a little over $100 million towards your debt service. We are also holding $309 million for projects. $302 million is out of your 2021 bonds, and $6 million is out of your 2014 bonds. At the bottom of that page, the department and NMFA do have a $50 million line of credit for your BNSF escrow agreement. It's with Wells Fargo, and that was just renewed for an additional 3 years. It will now expire on June 30th of 2025. The terms were not changed, except for one item, which is the LIBOR has been replaced to the secured overnight financing rate, with LIBOR being phased out. So your draw portion will now be SOFR plus 77, and the unused portion, which is your commitment fee, is 19 basis points. That comes to about $100,000 a year to have the line of credit in place. You've had a line of credit in place since 2013, July of 2013. You have paid $808,000 since that time for the line of credit. Really reasonable. Going on to the next page. As Peter mentioned earlier, you have total outstanding bonds of $998 million. You will have a 6/15 payment coming due with principal totaling $121 million and an interest portion of $24 million for a total of $145 million. If you add in your December 15th payment that you made, it was interest only of about $23 million. Your total debt service for the fiscal year will be $168.4 million. And with that, it can stand for any questions.
It's still looking good.
Everything always looks good with your portfolio.
Yeah, I just get a little leery with everything that's going on.
One good portion with your portfolio, it is all fixed rate, so the risk is no longer on you guys. It's actually out with the investors, which is a great place to be.
Yeah.
Previously, you did have variable rate debt, which is, the risk was on you, not the investors, but that is no longer the case.
Is there any other questions or comments? With that, Mark, we always appreciate your update.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on now to Mallory.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Chairman and Commissioners. You know me and my jokes, so I have one. What do you get if you put a duck in a cement mixer? Quacks in the pavement. So I'll be going over our financial status as of March 1st. What you have in front of you is our revenues and expenditures. I will concentrate on column F, line number 14. We've received 8 months worth of revenue, which is $580.6 million. We've expended $590.5 million in state road fund. We still have 4 months remaining, and we are still trending to collect all revenue as we forecasted. Next slide are the restricted funds. Again, column F, line number 23, we received $65.5 million worth of revenue. We've expended $39.6 million, and these funds are also trending as anticipated, and we expect to collect all revenue projected. Next. This is our cash balance. The columns highlighted, the first column is February of 2021, and the second column is February of 2022, which I'll be concentrating. So on February, we've received $368.7 million in state road fund. We've received $97.6 million in restricted funds for a total cash of $466.3 million. This is about $104.2 million more than what we received in 2021. On the last page is our fund balance, our savings account, what we project to end at the end of fiscal year 22, which is now in June. I will concentrate on the last column. State road fund is projected to end with a $24.8 million of savings. Our restricted revenues is $47.6 million for a total fund balance of $72.4 million. And that, Chairman, I stand for questions.
And the only question I always have is, you're comfortable with everything and everything's in good shape?
Yes.
With that, is there any other comments or questions from commissioners? With that, we thank you for your report and the excellent job that you and your staff do.
Thank you. I have one more at the bar number 14. So I'm here today to request a budget increase to establish budget for the FHWA program. This bar will increase our contractual services program by $137.3 million, of which 117.4 is federal funds and 19.9 is state match. The bar is to accommodate the increase in the federal apportionment we received due to the bipartisan infrastructure law signed into law on November 15th. And with that, I respectfully ask for your approval.
Mr. Secretary, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval.
Is there any questions or comments from fellow commissioners? If not, is there a motion to approve, for the approval of a budget adjustment request, bar number 14, FHWA, I just took off my glasses. Appropriate and releases. Do I have? I have a motion from Commissioner Taylor.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Ellis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move on now to proposed amendment to Commission Policy Number 1, New Mexico State Transportation. Ken, how you doing today?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Secretary. Mr. Chairman, this is to follow up on an item or an issue that you mentioned at our January meeting, and that was regarding whether or not the current law allowed us to participate or allowed you all to participate in commission meetings via Zoom or Microsoft Teams or similar technology. So we went back and researched the question whether we needed some sort of either legislative change or rulemaking, and determined that the current law actually allows us to participate, or the commission to participate in that manner. So the Open Meetings Act has a provision that allows for participation by telephone conference or other similar communications equipment, as long as the agency that's affected adopts or promulgates a rule allowing such participation. And we actually do have a rule. 18.1.5.9 of the New Mexico Administrative Code, which is a commission policy, allows, it adopts the Open Meetings Act language and allows, again, participation by telephone conference or other similar communications equipment. The commission has also, as you all know, adopted Commission Policy 1, which is similar to both the Open Meetings Act, or has similar language, and the state rule, but it adds the word television. So it allows participation by telephone conference, television, or other similar communications equipment. So we've determined that the current law allows that sort of participation, but we thought it best to amend Commission Policy 1 just to clarify, one, that the commissioners may participate remotely, and secondly, to add that participation, either remote or virtual, can be, via live streaming technology, including but not limited to Zoom or Microsoft Teams. We also added the word remotely, and that same phrase to paragraph J2 of Commission Policy number 1, just to make it consistent throughout. So with that, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Secretary, this is a discussion item only. I'm happy to address any questions that the Commission might have, and otherwise we'd like to present this for consideration and approval at the next meeting.
I think you spelled that out, but I just want to clarify that the partition means that they via Zoom, they can participate and vote.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
And we could also use that person as to establish a quorum.
That's correct. Full participation.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Then you brought it up only as a proposal, so we'll vote it on the next one.
That's correct, Mr.
I
Chairman.
think that's great.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay,
again.
thank you.
We appreciate it. Now we're gonna go on to 13B, initial rulemaking action for the repeal and replacement of Nmdot rules 18.20.3, driver education schools, driving schools, New Mexico's motorcycle training program, ignition interlock devices, and driving while impaired. And we have Ms. Adams here.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Leanne Adams, and I am a staff manager with the Traffic Safety Division. I come before you today to request approval for the initiation of the proposed rulemaking process for several of our programs within traffic safety. Pursuant to state statute and the Nmac rules, NMDOT has statutory responsibility to oversee each of the programs that I will go over today. Our first program is the driver's education program. NMDOT oversees the licensing and operation of the driver's education schools and instructors in the state. This does include training and the suspension and revocation procedures. Currently, we have 45 for-profit driver education schools in the state. We have 161 licensed instructors. And in addition to that, we have 200 plus licensed instructors teaching in our public high schools. Potential updates for this program would be definitions, program delivery updates, and technical improvements. Another thing I wanted to mention was last year during legislation, the legislature passed a bill which increased the driver education schools surety bond from $5,000 to $15,000. So that's definitely something we want to update and we want reflected during this process in the rules. The driver education school rules were last updated in January of 2003. Our next program is the driving safety program. NMDOT oversees the licensing and operation of the driving safety schools and instructors. This includes training and the suspension and revocation procedures. Currently, we have 17 driver safety schools in our state, and we have 30 licensed instructors. Potential updates for this program or for the rules would be definitions, program delivery updates, and technical improvements, and current standard and processes. These, the rules for the driver safety schools were last updated in January of 2003. Next, we have our motorcycle training program. The motorcycle training program is statutorily mandated, and thus the NMDOT administers and provides a quality, safety, motorcycle safety rider training. Potential updates for this program would be fixing a technical issue with a specific vendor listed in Nmac. And since the last update, there has been other programs and standards identified that may be utilized in a motorcycle training program. So we would like to get that changed and updated. The rules for this program were last updated in January of 1999. Next is our ignition interlock program. The NMDOT is statutorily responsible for the use of ignition interlock devices and the licensing of manufacturers, service center operators, and installers in New Mexico. This also includes reporting requirements and the suspension and revocation procedures. Currently, we have 8 manufacturers, 68 service centers, 134 installers, 48 service technicians, and 77 mobile sites. Potential updates for this program will be definitions, an updated National Highway Traffic Safety Administration specifications, and technical improvements. The rules for this program are last updated in 2003. Last, we have our DWI schools. NMDOT oversees the operation and licensing of the DWI schools and instructors in our state. This includes training and the suspension and revocation procedures. Currently, we have 21 DWI schools and 47 DWI school facilitators in our state. Potential updates for this program would be definitions, program delivery updates, technical and changes to improve program efficiency. These rules were last updated in 2003. This last slide shows an overview of how many people were trained in our various programs in 2021, I'm sorry. As you can see, over 12,500 students were trained in our driver education program. Over 1,100 students were trained in our correspondence driver education program. Over 1,500 students were trained in our driving safety program. Over 1,200 motorcycle basic and experienced riders were trained. In our ignition interlock, we have 10,041 ignition interlock licensed drivers. And of those, 791 were eligible for the Ignition Interlock Indigent Fund program. And we had over 2,400 students trained in our DWI schools. And with that, Chairman, I would like to request for approval to initiate the rulemaking process, and I stand for questions.
Questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Does the DOT help provide like simulators and different types of equipment in driver's ed classrooms? Do they do anything like that? Does the DOT do anything like that as far as providing equipment?
Currently, we don't have those in our schools. In the private driver educations, the for-profit, some actually invest in those in their own schools. So I know even a school in Santa Fe, they do have a simulator, and they have the students practice on that, before or after class, or during class, they'll break them up. But currently there's no funding for that, but that is something that we've looked into.
Yeah, because my son, as we talked earlier, is going through this process now with the DMV, and took his written test, and he did fine on that, but they said you've got to keep a log now, and they have a simulator there at Grants High School that these kids get to work on. I think they have 7 or 8 of them. The administration at the school bought those, but the instructor said, we're only going to drive a short ways. All of you can think back when you took driver's ed or whatever, you drove all over, you went on the freeway, you did everything. And that's kind of, I want to see some more of that as far as these kids getting some real hands-on experience driving, because believe me,
Yes.
you know, a lot of these kids, and you're going to be on the road with them.
Yes,
So, you know what I'm
absolutely,
saying?
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's something maybe to look at for you guys, if you have some extra resources. That
Yes.
would be, nice to have that in the schools.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You're gonna let her off easy? Come on.
I do have a question.
Secretary.
I just want to know if the chairman makes you call him chairman, or can you call him dad at like family functions?
Hey, I don't want anybody laughing at that, okay?
At home, he's dad.
I just want to say that, in all the meetings that we go to, I always bring up generations of families that continue to work for DOT. And now that I go around, I see some of the guys that have retired a long time ago, and their sons are there, or their grandsons are there. And so I'm very proud that she chose a career here at DOT. I retired from DOT, my wife retired from DOT, and hopefully my daughter will retire from DOT. But just so that everybody knows, I'm very proud of her. And now we'll get back to business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, you've heard, what is your recommendation, Mr. Secretary?
I recommend approval.
So do I have a motion for the initial rulemaking action for the repeal and replacement of NMDOT Rules 18.20.3, NMAC Driver Education Schools 18.20.8, NMAC Driving Safety Schools 18.20.10, New Mexico Motorcycle Training Program 18.20.11, Interlock Devices 7.32.20, NMAC Driving While Impaired. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion,
I
Chair.
have a motion from Commissioner Chenoweth, I have a second from Commissioner Lundstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Adams, for your presentation.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the commission.
And you're driving home. And with that, we'll go ahead and move on to proposal to transfer roads pursuant to cooperative agreement with the town of Bernalillo. Thank you, Justin.
Well, at this point, I think it's good afternoon.
Yeah.
Almost, we're getting close.
Hey, no wonder I'm getting dirty looks.
So this briefing won't be for action today. It was included in your packet. It's going to be page 85 through 91 will be the agreement. What's going on with this is the parent control number was A301220. We've been working on the US 550 corridor since 2012, and I'm happy to report that this year we'll finish that corridor. We had a winter suspension to do our OGFC, but once we're wrapping this up, the plan is to come before you when you're in Albuquerque for final approval. If we can go to page, just for a visual, I believe we're going to be on page 92. 92 shows the conceptual plan of what was actually built, and if we can just go ahead and flip to page 93, the North Backage Road and the South Backage Road eventually became Bell Lane there in Bernalillo, and then also the south one became Piedra Lisa, and it's right next to the Rail Runner Station. If you can see, this will reduce our maintenance responsibilities. It's actually in a residential neighborhood at this point, and it's time for this to be transferred. We're working on a maintenance agreement for there's a drainage pond that's near Bell Lane. This also serves the high school, so it's going to be where this road will be actually transferred to Bernalillo should it be approved. That way they can keep up with perpetual maintenance, but I'll stand for any questions if you have any.
So what happens with Laria?
Right now, it's still under DOT jurisdiction. We do have a signed agreement that it will be transferred. The corridor was done in about 3 segments, so we're just finishing up with the 3rd segment this year. And so from I-25 all the way to New Mexico 528, the corridor will be complete. Well, technically right now, DOT has a residential road.
So you believe they can coexist well together?
Multifunctional.
It's always, I shouldn't say it always, but it's always good when we can see the benefits of exchanging roads because of the cost and the labor and everything that goes into it.
And I would add that these are extremely beneficial to have backage roads because 550 doesn't know what kind of classification, if it's a freight corridor, if it's a residential road, if it's a commuter route. It's all of those things. These 2 roads are very beneficial to Bernalillo because you get circulation. You can get to the Applebee's, you can get to the Dunkin' Donuts, you can get to the high school. We weren't so lucky on the 2nd phase where the town is now trying to build some backage roads so that you can get to some of the commercial developments because with 550 being widened, you really need some small collector streets to connect to 550. That way, it'll relieve congestion on 550.
Are you going to bring this up for an action item in
Yes,
May?
sir.
Up when you were up there, okay.
When you come to visit us in Albuquerque, my plan is to have it for final approval at that time.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we're going to move over to D, final rulemaking action regarding proposed new Nmdot rule, autonomous motor vehicle testing. Charles, you came out of nowhere.
Mr. Chairman, yes,
Or
sir.
maybe let me put on my glasses.
You may not want to do that. No, thank you for having me. Yeah, I get the same reaction from everyone. It's like, Rimke, you're still here? I can't believe it. So, but that said, thank you for having me today, Mr. Chairman and Commission members. I'm here to apprise everyone on the rulemaking process for autonomous vehicle testing here in New Mexico. Back in May of 2021, the commission approved the initiation of the rulemaking process. And as part of that, that rulemaking process, over the last, say, 6 months or so, we've had 2 public hearings. One was held on November 16th, and the other was on March the 10th. During that public hearing process, we received written comments and also a lot of oral comments on the proposed rule, and they occurred from various coalitions that included SAVE, the Coalition for Safe Autonomous Vehicles and Electrification, Trujillo Law Group, MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Waymo, the Chamber of Progress, a consortium of various companies that are looking to leverage autonomy and technology for the benefit of both safer and more efficient movements, and also the Association of Unmanned Vehicle Systems International. During that public comment period, there were no comments in objection to the rule. All but one of those providing comments voiced very strong support of it. The one that wasn't in, that didn't fall into that level of support, it wasn't like I said he had any objections. It came from the Trujillo Law Group. He just wanted an editorial comment to the change of the language. And to that end, our response to that was to keep our language the same because it would render it somewhat impractical and inoperable. All recommended edits provided through the public comment were considered for incorporation. The rationale to include or dismiss each of the recommended edits into the final rule is included in our response to comments, which I believe you have in your pamphlet or your booklet there. The rule is written and amended from the public comments will encourage the advancement and efficient implementation of autonomous vehicle testing in New Mexico that will not impede on maintaining a safe environment for public roadway users. It takes into account the existing successful practices of other states. It ensures a common framework is in place for AV testing throughout the state. It avoids inconsistencies with surrounding states that would adversely impact testing across state boundaries. It delineates between the federal and state roles with respect to the advancement of AT technology and does not encroach on those defined authorities. Pending the Transportation Commission's adoption of the rule and authorization to proceed with publication, the next steps will include submittal of the rule and a concise explanatory statement of registration publication, and that will need to occur 15 days after adoption and authorization, and that submittal is needed with state records and archives by April the 7th. Concurrent publication of both to the Sunshine Portal and the Nmdot website. Distribute both to stakeholders and anyone who attended the public hearings the concurrent publication and the concise explanatory statement. And then the rule will become effective once published in the Register, which we're looking at the deadline of April the 19th, pending, of course, the Commission's adoption and authorization to proceed. Implementing the rule's provisions will reside as a special projects within the Nmdot. The authorities that will be associated with those provisions of incorporation includes notification and submittals from AV developers via online forms. Components of that will take into account credentials of the AV designer, the manufacturer, and the implementers, prior coordination with the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the overarching federal regulatory arm that manages the provisions associated with autonomous vehicles, the maturity of their respective AV programs, the record of testing, indemnification and coverage, crash response, and police interaction plan. Also part of the department's responsibilities that will come in under the special projects will be the database management, IPRA requests, reporting requirements, and industry liaison. With that, I'm respectfully requesting the Commission to approve the rule and authorize publication, and I stand open for answering any questions.
Is there any questions, comments? Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval. I want to thank Charles and his team. They had to basically write this from scratch. We didn't have anything with the new law. They put it together, and developing a rule and taking everybody's input is no small task. So thank you, Charles. You've done a great job. You stuck to the timelines that you said you would. And I think this is a good thing for the state, and I appreciate the work that he did with his team.
Thank you. We appreciate, the commission wants to thank you too for all your hard work. You've been here a while, and I worked with you before, and you've always done a great job. You've always been pretty focused on what you're doing, so thank you for that. Is there a motion for final rulemaking action regarding proposed New Mexico Nmdot Rule 18.24.1 NMAC autonomous motor vehicle testing?
I would be happy to make that motion, Chairman.
We have a motion from Commissioner Chenoweth. We have a second from Commissioner Lundstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously.
Thank you.
I have one question before you go, and you don't have to answer now. I'll give you a call. I got on the cameras the other night. You know, we have cameras all over the state, and I noticed when I got on them and at night, they black out at night. And so I understand those were the old cameras, and my question was, now that we're putting new cameras throughout the state, there's new ones that we're still implementing. Can we see it at night with the infrared?
Mr. Chairman, Commission members, we do have low-lux capability cameras that we're starting to bring online. That said, they are low-lux as compared to infrared. We do have the option of moving forward with the infrared. Those are dual-headed systems, but they are quite a bit more expensive, so we have to be strategic about where we want to deploy that installations. But I appreciate it, and I also want to thank our General Counsel staff, John Newell, as well as Samantha Baca, because as you know, in rulemaking process, the devils are in the details, and man, they kept me out of harm's way. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank them, and again, thank you, Charles. Yes. With that, I'm going to move on to the briefing regarding proposed Lincoln County request, and I think we can cover both of them right away. I mean, we heard a lot, you know, from the input, and then we got it in our packet. We just needed to figure it all out. So I'll go ahead, if it's all right with the commissioners, I'll go ahead and link those two together. Is that fine? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, you know, there was a lot of discussion up front. You know, this is the proposal from Lincoln County, you know, for the extension of their ROV route on New Mexico 48. So a little history, you heard a little bit about it. The route was, the village city limits was approved in 2019 through the commission at that time. Goes from city limit on New Mexico 48, starting US 70. So this is just an extension of that route on New Mexico 48. The plan has always been to extend that route, or at least have Nmdot consider that. At that time, Lincoln County was not in, their ordinance and the resolutions weren't passed to go forth with coming to the Nmdot and the State Transportation Commission. So the route they're proposing is from mile marker 7.8 all the way to the cutoff of New Mexico 37, up 2 miles to the Bonita Lake Road turnoff. So, you know, commission policy, we have received a lot in District 2, and as Chairman Adams said, throughout the state, people requesting the ROVs on state roads. But that's why Commission Policy 71 is in place. And one of the main things within that commission policy is, you know, complements the characters of that community. And there's no other community like Ruidoso. It matches exactly what Commission Policy 71 is. Talked a little bit, the sheriff and the county manager talked a little bit. These things are by state statute. You have to follow the Financial Act. They're registered, licensed, have all the safety features, seat belts. As you can see, it's just an example of one of the type of ROVs that will be out on this roadway segment. You know, we look at safety, of course, in New Mexico 48 from the beginning of the route where Lincoln County is proposing to the end of New Mexico 37 and Bonita Lake Road. The one thing that's good about this corridor, where I feel confident and recommending this to the commission, is it does have safety features throughout. There is guardrail from the start of that route all the way to 37 and 37 to the Bonita Lake Road. As you can see on the right, there's some signs. These are signs were put in by the Village of Ruidoso, kind of telling you within the route, and the sign in the back kind of has the restrictions, the legal restrictions. And so these are the type of signs, safety signs, that Lincoln County will have to install on the other routes to prevent people from driving these where they're not allowed. Slide missing. Anyway. So I'll talk about the slide. It's real simple. You know, we did our due diligence, did the crash history, the traffic studies. We pulled the last 3 data of crashes. You know, the crash rate is higher than the state average. It is. And so that was one thing we looked at that did bring some concern to us. But as we dug in deeper into the crash, actual what was going on, you know, 50% are animal hits. And if you dig deeper into that data, the majority of those hits are happening at night. And so, you know, these generally the ROVs are not driven at night. They're usually in-the-day type of recreational vehicles. Also on these charts show a lot of the accidents that are happening on New Mexico 48 are the winter months, which makes sense. You know, Ruidoso does get their share of snow and ice, and so what this chart is showing you is a lot of these accidents are happening during those winter months. And like you said, the majority hits are animal. New Mexico 37, it's a very short segment too. The crash is 180. It's an equation we use to kind of determine how a crash rate on a highway. It's 180 accidents per 100 million vehicles traveled. Like I said, the state average is 159. It's a little bit higher, but the same thing. Overall, there's only been 8 wrecks there in the last 3 years, and the majority have been animal hits, right, in that New Mexico 37. So same thing, it's showing, you know, what's going out there. One thing when I look at a route, one thing I want to see, especially any community that's bringing to our District 2, is connectivity. You know, how is this route going to impact our state highway system, and what's the benefits? And right now, if you're familiar with the area, the limits go out to the village of Ruidoso, but there's much more past that point. You know, we have the community of Alto. Well, right now, that would be great for the community of Alto to be able to drive into the limits of village of Ruidoso to do their shopping, their grocery, whatever they need to do, and get back out to the communities. There's recreation along this route, so if we were to potentially approve this, people in RVs would have access to like Alto Lake and that recreation and hiking area. So this is just the turnoff there where it would turn off to New Mexico 37. That picture all the way to the right, that is Bonita Lake Road. That's where the RVs would ultimately enter into U.S. Forest public lands. You know, as you heard, the county manager said, we work together to address all stakeholders. I had concerns about these vehicles being on Forest Service land, but talking with the district ranger, one thing they did point out, these things are legal on their roads. As long as it's registered and insured, they're legal to be on U.S. Forest Service roads. The one concern the Forest Ranger District Ranger have was, you know, on these busy weekends, the amount of ROVs that would be out on the forest roads, but she is confident that the sheriffs would address that. And I am confident too, on these super busy weekends, that we'll have the law enforcement present to address any overuse of these routes with ROVs. So it's kind of the route, the turnoff, as you can see, 48 on the right, turn off on 37, 2 miles, and eventually terminate there at the Bonita Lake Road right there, the little white road that's in the middle. That's where it becomes U.S. Forest Service land, and that's where the route would end. And of course, you got commission policy in your packet. Like I said, this route meets all the conditions within Commission Policy 71. You faster? Okay. So this is another proposal. This is from Medy County, also requesting State Transportation Commission proposal to designate a portion of New Mexico 137. So just giving kind of an overview of where that's at. This is a snapshot of District 2, a zoomed in area between Carlsbad and Artesia. The route is New Mexico 137, just right before you get to Carlsbad. It's better known as the Queens Highway. As you can see, the Guadalupe district runs right through Queen. And so that's really the focus where this route is being proposed to be approved. It's just a little close-up view there. Another view of the location. So same thing, it complements that community and that area out there. They got a little store there. A lot of the use out there is during hunting season. It's a big part. A lot of hunters there, specifically during times of the year. So there's a small community RV thing, restaurant there with heavily used. Right now, the RVs cannot go on the state road to get to these places during their hunting season or recreation camping. So that's why one of the major reasons Eddy County has proposed designating this section for ROVs. Another picture of the safety features, kind of the character out there on the Queens Highway. We didn't do the crash studies on New Mexico 37. It's a very low priority road. It's a minor collector. I pulled the traffic counts. You're only looking at 300 cars a day. So it's very low volume. With that many cars not being there, we feel confident that the RVs can operate safe out there. Connectivity, as you can see, all those roads that are connected to New Mexico 137, those are all county roads where they have the ordinance to ride the RVs through there. As you can see, it'll make sense to have this piece for RVs as they can continue to go down the county roads and also U.S. Forest Service public lands. We have also got concurrence from the U.S. Forest Service that they're in favor of this area for ROVs. Some more of that connectivity for that area of the proposed ROV route. Eddy County is here to answer any questions. If you have, they're the ones that came to Nmdot. Public Works Director Jason Burns can answer any questions or provide any additional information you would like.
Is there any questions or comments from fellow commissioners? No? I think, yeah, we appreciate you coming though, because we might have had some, and then we had some people that had come on earlier with public comment. So we do appreciate you here. And I guess my only question is so Francisco, are you going to be in favor of recommending this at the next meeting?
Yes, the district would be in favor of recommending both routes as an action item at the next commission meeting.
And Jason, I'd like for you to, come up and say some words and tell us that you're in favor of it, that you're supporting it.
Mr. Chairman, Commission, we appreciate you hearing this today, and I think Francisco covered all the basis on this, and we do support it. We've taken it to our county commission. The sheriff's looked at it and wrote a letter of support for it. And really, the one thing that he didn't mention that I'd like to bring before the commission is this was a request more of the Eddy County citizens, obviously, but New Mexico Department of Game and Fish, because they were upholding the statutes of this when the OHVs were going on the highway, and they'd pull them over and write them tickets. And through a meeting with our sheriffs and the Department of Game and Fish, they requested us to make this area an OHV zone so that this could just be it wouldn't have an issue anymore with people going from the RV park or their homes up there to go off to the county roads and go hunting. So we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, and I just want to, for the future, I'd like to let all the Ds know, or whoever's coming up with any, HOVs are becoming a thing now all over the state. And so if someone comes up with a request in your area, make sure that all the studies are done and everything's ready to go, that we have cooperation between law enforcement, that we have the city and the county both buying off on it. And then once you get all that, bring it to us for review. And instead of like a week before the meeting saying, well, we want to pass this through, because as I said earlier, we take this very seriously and we want time to read through it and find out what it's doing. So in the future, if it comes before you, just give us ample time, and we appreciate it, because we want to make sure everything's done. And I'm sure some of you are getting requests already. I know I've been called, and so with that, I appreciate you being here, and I want to thank you for dinner last night. It was very much appreciated. and we enjoyed it, and thank you. And we had staff there and everything, and it was great.
I apologize, I couldn't be there, but we appreciate y'all's.
Well, I didn't
continued-
need because you didn't show up. But I mean, I'm talking about the third time.
No, I appreciate your guys and Francisco and all his staff. They've been great partners and are truly good supporters of Eddy County and southeastern New Mexico. So we're super proud to have y'all and host you and whatever we can do. So thank you.
Thank you. And Francisco, thank you for that presentation. And now we got to see everything. And so that's great. And so, Commissioner Ellis, before, I was going to ask you this, are you going to be in support of this?
I am, and I was fortunate to see some of the preliminary work they did, and had some conversations with, all of the parties involved. One of the concerns I have is that we're approaching the beginning of their season, so to speak, in Lincoln County, and their ability to take this to the public and allow it to be beneficial. So the request might be if this could be considered in a special meeting prior to our next scheduled meeting, so that commissioners have an opportunity to review it, and we could discuss it then and perhaps vote at that time.
Thank you, Commissioner. That would be up to the Secretary if he would see that we can't take any action on it or discuss it, but if you,
Mr. Chairman, if, just let us know how long you need to review it, and then we'll make the proper notifications, public notifications, and I'll work with the chairman on a date. But certainly we can accommodate that, and we'd probably just do a virtual meeting just on maybe these two issues, but only once you feel comfortable that you've had all the information to make a decision.
The request might be, Mr. Secretary, is that we take out of this presentation just this portion and send it to the commissioners for an opportunity to review on a kind of on a one-on-one basis, and then with conversation between the chairman and the district engineer, perhaps a time frame could be established with your permission.
and we thank you both for being here. And I know you came in, you had to sit through a lot of presentations, but we appreciate you being here. Okay. Thank you. And we'll move on. That's both of them, no?
Yeah, and
So
of
we'll
course,
move on to
Chairman, Commissioners, if you need further information to be added to that packet, I know you'd asked for a more detailed map. Lincoln County did provide one. It just didn't scan very well, so.
I got one here, and
Okay.
it was marked and everything, so.
Okay, so you're good.
So if the other commissioners could get one of these, I'm taking this home.
Okay.
And to review it, so if we can get one.
All right.
And we're gonna go to our next important part of the meeting, number 14, which is everybody's favorite.
Right. Well, thank you,
Now
Chairman,
maybe
Commissioner.
everybody will keep giving me dirty looks, Commissioner.
Don't look at me.
No, I'm just kidding. And we have one more presentation that this guy's gonna bring. They went to go get all their stuff. And so with that, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting at 12:16?
I make a motion, Mr. Chair.
So moved by Commissioner Lundstrom, second by Commissioner Alice. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? For the record, 12:16, we have adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay.